Another issue regarding social support requires us to revisit the definition we presented earlier. Specifically, social support involves the perception or experience. This creates an important distinction between the support that we think we have available to us and the support that we are actually getting at this moment. For instance, you may believe that you have friends who will give you those class notes, but when you actually miss class, suddenly you discover their notes are badly written or they don't actually feel like sharing. Most of the research noting health benefits of social support were using metrics of perceived support. However, received or enacted support is less consistently related to positive health outcomes. One study had participants undergo the Trier social stress task and measured cortisol before, soon after, and an hour after the task as a proxy for stress response. Half the participants had a socially supportive partner join them after the stressful task, whereas the other half were alone. The idea was that socially supportive others would be better able to calm down the participant and return them to baseline cortisol levels. However, the opposite happened. Participants who had partners had significantly less reduction in cortisol from soon after the task to an hour later. They didn't get less stressed. Researchers proposed that solo participants were able to independently engage their own coping strategies without interference, whereas partnered participants had additional distraction and social pressures from their partner. Researchers have also found consistency between benefits of received and perceived support in many other situations as well. One explanation for this inconsistency is that support given in the moment can sometimes not be what is needed. Think about a time you wanted a shoulder to cry on, but instead that person tried giving you advice. Frustrating, right? Or maybe you really needed guidance on an issue, but they just tell you everything is going to be okay. Even if the type of support given matches the type of support needed, it can also be given ineffectively. A friend's words may fall flat or not match what you were expecting. Even good support can also incur unintended consequences, such as making you feel worse for needing to ask for support in the first place, or creating a sense of imbalance in the relationship because they supported you, but you aren't sure how to support them back. Thus, one may seek opportunities to reciprocate that support, thus creating greater stress. Due to these issues, researchers have explored best practices for actual support provision. For one, evidence suggests that support given without the awareness of the support recipient can be highly beneficial. For instance, taking care of household chores or subtly dropping a hint about a recommended course of action. This invisible support can decrease secondary stressors and/or create additional resources for the recipient, while avoiding issues of reciprocity or self-esteem. However, for some situations, support recipients may actually want to know they are being intentionally supported, so visibility is kind of case by case. When support needs to be visible, support providers should be careful to match the support they are giving to the support that the individual desires. Does this person want advice, or do they just need someone to hang out with? Often, the best way to know is just to ask. However, just as often, the recipient doesn't have a clear idea of what they need or want. Recall those uncertain waiting periods? Well, in these situations, there is no clear coping strategy or option for how to address the stressor. Everything's unknown. Thus, support can be particularly challenging. Another promising avenue of inquiry ignores the traditional distinction between specific support behaviors and instead examines the holistic impression of the support recipient following a supportive interaction. This perspective, termed partner responsiveness, is the perception that one is understood, valued, and cared for. The significant distinction is that responsiveness comes from the support provider truly conveying that they get you. They get why this stressor matters to you. They get what events led up to this stressor. They get what hurdles you might have to overcome to beat the stressor. Moreover, they want you to get that they will help in whatever way they can, and they care about you being able to overcome that stressor. In essence, perceived responsiveness disregards trying to identify the best specific type of social support for a situation, and instead focuses on the recipient feeling holistically supported. Research has demonstrated that valuation of partner responsiveness is a positive predictor of well-being. Remember those law graduates awaiting bar exam results? Well, one study found that participants who received more responsiveness from partners felt happier, as well as reported better sleep, better health, and better feelings that the recipient was coping well with the stress of waiting for exam results. Interesting, however, there was no significant relationship between partner responsiveness and worry or anxiety. Responsiveness didn't help people feel less cognitively stressed out, but it did help people cope with whatever stress they might be feeling. Now, speaking of feeling understood, valued, and cared for, I would be remiss if we didn't touch on a salient predictor of coping in health, the faith factor. The faith factor is the consistent finding that religiously active people live longer and have better health than those who are not actively religious. For instance, in America, the only blue zone, which is a region of the world where people live longer than average, is in Loma Linda, California, where the population has a large percentage of Seventh-day Adventists. On its face, the more religiously inclined might attribute this health and longevity to spiritual explanations. However, research suggests this relationship between religiosity and health is largely due to the amount of social support available in religious communities. Most churches, mosques, synagogues, temples, collectives, etc. actively promote shared values and traditions, a sense of interdependence and service to the community. Thus, when members experience stressful events, they have a well-established support network. Additionally, most religions promote health behaviors such as reduction in substance use and risky behaviors, as well as positive emotions and positive self-appraisal. Now, it's important to note that these attributes are not unique to faith institutions. Many secular groups also promote health behaviors, community connection, and a sense of purpose. However, in current American culture, religious institutions are generally more accessible, pervasive, and intentional about maintaining their networks. Of course, there are many caveats to this faith factor, which we will discuss at a later point. In the meantime, what are some that you can think of?